My next guest is coming off an impressive win this past weekend over Rachel Cain at Atlas Fights 32. It is Cade Dement joining me here on the program for the very first time. Cade, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate you asking. Not everyone asks how I'm doing, so I like that. And it's the first time I've had you on the show, and obviously we'll get to the fights that you've had in the last couple of weeks. But I wanted to know, how did you initially get involved in combat sports?
My family is from a long line of fighters. So my grandfather, my uncles, and my dad, they were world champions and Olympians, and they were big boxers. And of course, my dad was a kickboxer. But so yeah, that's where I got it from.
So how early are we talking? Did you even start? Like, was it like super young?
I mean, I've been around it my whole life, and I've hit mitts and stuff like that. But growing up, my family never wanted me to get into it. But after high school, I got into it, and I've been fighting competitively for about a year and a half. And
I know in your corner, you've had Andrea Lee, who I've interviewed a bunch of times, UFC flyweight. What's your relation to her? How do you know her?
Well, her husband, Donnie Aaron, and then my dad, Stevie, they grew up together fighting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they both lived in Louisiana, Shreveport together, and they grew up together, so I get to go and train with her a lot in Louisiana, which is my family's hometown. So.
Okay, that's good. How much of an influence has she been on your career just with the success that she's had?
Huge, huge, huge. I cannot thank her enough for everything. She is awesome. I hope to be half the fighter she is.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. Now, I saw that you're also working to be a dental assistant, or are you one right now? What's sort of because I know you do that on top of fighting.
I am. I'm a full-time student for dental assisting, but I'm only like halfway through. I'm actually considering cutting this, finishing this last semester off and then putting it on the back burner and just focusing on my fight career, especially with how I've been performing the past couple of fights. I feel like I've done enough to see my potential in the future, Well,
I was going to say, they kind of go hand in hand, right? Like, you get punched in the mouth, maybe you lose a tooth. You kind of know the whole science behind that, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. I was going to say, how has it been, balancing school and then also training and getting ready for these fights?
It's really difficult at times, but, and I teach the kids kickboxing at my dad's gym, and I work for my dad part-time. And so it's difficult, and that's why I'm considering putting school on the back burner. So.
Okay. Interesting. I first became aware of you actually for your fight against Jeniece Gamez at Rite of Passage 3 because we live streamed it here on Full Combat, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And I know there was some controversy in the fight. I saw you post about it. For those who don't know, what exactly happened in that fight? And obviously you didn't have your hand raised. What's sort of the reason for what had happened in that fight?
Well, I think she's just a very aggressive person in general, and I'm not controversy at all. I like to be straight to the point and then fight. And in the fight, I'm a little more aggressive, and I show my emotion in the fights a lot more. So whenever we were fighting, I kind of acted out a little bit. But I feel like I won, in my heart. I feel like I won that fight, and I feel like I was robbed. But, this is amateur. This is where you learn, and that's just what happens sometimes. You just got to, it's part of the fight. It's part of this game.
Okay. But for those who don't know, it was that you submitted her and she was out, and then I guess the ref didn't see it. Like, what sort of happened there?
Yes. I had her in a triangle, and she was asleep. She was snoring. I even pointed at her, and I was like, she's asleep. And the ref just was like, I know. And then he said, I know, and he didn't do anything about it. And I was like, okay. So I stood up, and I went to my corner, and she went to her corner. She sat right back down and just was recovering, and my dad and I, we were just kind of like, what the heck? So I didn't really have time to recover very much. My mind felt like I won, and I felt like the fight was over. And so whenever we went to fight again, my mind just wasn't where it needed to be. And I'm glad that happened, because now I know in the future if that happens, how to handle it. I need to go sit down, prepare for the next round and just move on.
So did the ref or did the commissioner say anything to you after the fight? Because I'm sure you must have been pretty upset that you submitted her, but the ref didn't catch it.
No, nothing happened. They dismissed her team because they told them that if they didn't leave, they were about to arrest them because they were acting out so badly. And my dad was upset as well. So they kind of just dismissed both of us and told us to leave. Neither one of us they kicked them out completely. They made them leave the casino. But yeah, so it was pretty bad, and I feel like the judges felt like I won that fight also. So I feel like they weren't even sure if they wanted to raise anybody's hand, honestly.
Well, you didn't waste any time, taking another fight. You fought literally a week later, and I just mentioned off the top there, you got the win in that one. How nice was that to kind of, just kind of forget about that other fight, move on, and get the win?
Awesome, and that's why I did it.
Yeah.
Literally the next day, Andrea called me and was like, "Hey, you're on this card," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "You're fighting on this card," and I was like, "Okay, we'll take it. I don't even care. Let's do it." And so next day we made the plans, and I drove out there and fought.
Excellent. And how'd you celebrate after that fight? Getting a win like that must have been pretty nice.
Yeah, Andrea and I, we had a blast. We just went and hung out and explored the casino over there in Mississippi. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed being with her, obviously.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. Now, as far as this week, what have things been like? Have you been in school? Have you been training? What's sort of been the game plan this week?
I've been training, and I had school yesterday, and I took a little bit of a break on Monday, and I took a little bit of a break yesterday. I still trained and did some cardio, but today was my first hard day. I still have wrestling tonight, but yeah.
Interesting. So what's next? I mean, you just had 2 fights very close together. You want to take some time off? Are you looking to get back in there? What's sort of the plan?
I have a fight April 20th hopefully for the legacy card. I still don't have an opponent, but
okay.
That's my goal.
Wow, that's huge. So LFA then, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I mean, obviously that's a big promotion. Andrea was their champion, so I'm sure that's interesting to be able to fight for them. I guess so. They're still working on an opponent, then, is what you're saying.
Yes. Donnie Aaron is still looking for me an opponent, but I'm sure he'll get me one. He always does, cool. So I'm super excited.
We talked all about your fight career. We talked about school. We haven't talked about what you like doing on your downtime. I'm sure you're really busy and everything, but are you watching any Netflix? Are you doing any other things outside of fighting?
Not really. I really just hang out with my family a lot and watch TV or watch fights. Like, I don't even watch Netflix or movies or anything. I mean, if I'm on TV, I'm watching fights. Like UFC
interesting. It's just
stuff,
in your DNA, like you said. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, what about like social time? Do you get to hang out with your friends at all, or is it just really, sleeping, training, going to school?
Completely honest, I don't hang out with very many people at all. I really just train, and I mean, if I hang out with somebody, it's like my family. I have one friend that I hang out with, but she is all the way in Georgia. She's at Georgia Southern, so it's hard for me to see her very often. But other than that, just stay home or train, or I find it easier doing that. Not a lot of people live the same way I do. So,
well, no, if you want to take the sport seriously, you got to make those sacrifices, right? And I guess for you, you're so used to it that it's just like, second nature. As far as the rest of your career, like how soon do you feel like you're ready to go pro? Like, I'm sure you've only had a couple fights, but I'm sure you've kind of mapped out in your head, like as far as goals and when you want to get to that next level.
Yeah, and I'm not really in a huge rush for it, but I definitely want to turn pro. My dad says in a couple of years, and then he'll say after this many fights, or I feel like just time will tell me whenever I'm ready. And if anyone knows, I feel like Andrea will really. She's very like, that girl wasn't ready to turn pro, so she'll let me know when I'm ready to turn pro.
Okay, interesting.
Probably in a couple of years.
And is there sort of an ideal weight class for you as far as where you'd like to fight at?
Right now we're looking at 125, but my weight's it's going to depend on how my muscle and everything turns out in the next couple of years. You never know what your body's going to do, but I'd like to fight 115 if possible, but I just don't know if my body will allow me to do that. So we'll see.
All right, well, we'll definitely keep tabs on your next fight. You said for LFA, hopefully that all comes together. I know sometimes it's tough to find fights on the regional scene, especially in amateur. But Cade, I really want to thank you for coming here on the program. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yes, I want to call out Faglers and Smack MMA and Dement Brothers, and you can also find me on any social media, just Cade Dement, at Cade Dement or at Dement Cade. Thank you so much for having me also. Thank you.